Most people think healing is about letting go, moving forward, and never looking back. But what if the opposite is true? I'm not talking about reliving your past or getting stuck in old pain. I'm talking about revisiting it with fresh eyes, seeing it clearly from who you are now. Stronger, wiser, calmer. In this episode, I'm sharing a powerful story about a woman who finally healed. Not by trying to forget, but by courageously looking again with the emotional clarity and strength she has today. If you feel your past is still holding you back, keep watching, because what happened to her could change everything for you too. Years ago, I worked with this amazing woman, smart, successful, in her early 30s, running her own business. On paper, she had it all. But inside, she was hanging on by a thread. Relationships were impossible. Trust was non-existent. Burnout? Just around the corner. And honestly, I understood why. See, at 6 years old, she watched her father take his own life. She was there. She saw it. And then, at 14, she was assaulted by a guy more than 10 years older than her. 2 devastating moments. 2 deep, invisible wounds. No wonder her relationships were doomed from the start. For years, she tried everything. Therapists, institutions, coaching, you name it. But the pain never faded until one day when we decided to do something different. Together we went back, not to relive those moments, but to finally see them clearly. Not as the frightened child she once was, but as the strong, capable woman she had become. And for the first time in her life, she saw what really happened. Her father wasn't cruel or selfish. He was a man battling his own darkness, depression, alcohol, drugs. A good father, drowning in his pain. A man who deeply loved his family, but who lost the fight with himself. And the moment she truly saw that, something shifted. Out loud, right there, she spoke the words, "Dad, you are a good father. I understand now. You didn't leave because of me. Your pain was overwhelming. You did your best. I hope you found peace wherever you are. Thank you for everything good you did give me. Now, I'm ready to move forward." See? Most people believe healing means leaving the past behind. But the truth is, sometimes you need to go back. Not as the child who got hurt, but as the adult who can finally understand. Because you can't rewrite what happened, but you can rewrite what it means. You're not the victim of your story. You're the storyteller. And when you truly see the story you're telling yourself, that's when the healing actually begins. The next session, we face someone even harder. This time she was 14. On a campsite, completely innocent. A young woman, barely more than a child. When a guy, early 20s, walked uninvited into her tent, she froze, powerless, too scared to even move. And yeah, what he did was disgusting. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was evil, period. But here's why we went back there. Because since that night, every man she met felt like a potential threat. In her mind, it became all men. Instead of just one horrible man in one horrible moment. So calmly and clearly, she watched it unfold again. Not as the frightened girl in the tent, but as the strong woman she was today. Seeing it clearly for what it really was. And as she watched, something powerful clicked. She saw that none of this was her fault. She wasn't weak or wrong. She was unlucky. Wrong person, wrong place, wrong time. Evil had crossed her path. Simple as that. But that didn't define her. And it sure as hell didn't define all men. Sometimes bad things just happen. Not because of who you are, but simply because life isn't always fair. And in seeing that truth clearly, The weight finally lifted, because that one terrible event didn't have to write her entire story. It happened. It hurt. It was unfair. But it didn't control her anymore. She took back her power, right there. Not by changing the past, but by clearly understanding it. And sometimes clarity is all you need to finally move forward. See, there's a reason so many people remain trapped in the emotions of what happened years ago. When you're hurt, especially as a child or teenager, the emotional part of your brain takes over. It captures every detail, every feeling, every sensation, and then it freezes. And here's the thing about those frozen emotions. They stay alive inside you. You grow older, you get wiser, you build a life. But that emotion from back then stays exactly the same. That's why decades later, something small, a sound, a smell, a certain word, can snap you right back into that old, overwhelming feeling. But when you go back to that moment from where you are today, calm, strong, clear-eyed, you bring something powerful with you. Perspective. You don't erase the details. You don't erase the pain. But you finally get to see the bigger picture. The pieces you missed because you were too young, too scared, too overwhelmed. You step back just enough, still clearly seeing every detail, every moment. But now you're seeing it through your adult eyes, with all your strength, your experience, your wisdom. And that's when something amazing happens. The emotions and stories that felt so powerful back then, they start to soften because you're no longer stuck in that young, helpless perspective. You're finally looking at it through the eyes of someone who's grown, someone who's survived, someone who knows that one moment, no matter how traumatic, doesn't have to define everything about you. And look, I get it. Facing it like this is incredibly hard. Why? Because letting go of the old story, no matter how painful, is scary. That old story has become part of who you are. You know it intimately. It's familiar, even if it's terrible. Stepping away from that story means stepping into something unknown. But here's the truth. If you don't find the courage to look at it clearly, to let your adult self truly understand what happened, that old, unresolved story will keep writing your future. It will shape your relationships, your trust, your choices, your whole life. So yes, revisiting those moments clearly from the powerful perspective of who you are today is painful and scary. But it's also liberating, because the moment you clearly see and understand, the moment you accept that some events just happen, not because you are weak or wrong or deserving, but simply because life isn't always fair. That's when the old story finally loses its grip. And suddenly you realize you have the power to decide what it all means. Because in the end, your past doesn't write your future. You do. And that's how real healing finally happens.